Antifa is just short for anti-fascist. It's not a club you can join. There are no membership dues, but they have matching signs. Okay, well, I guess we better round up these domestic terrorists, too. They look pretty matching to me. Listen.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil, chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk and doubt it, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for? Go back and read what the Second Amendment says. And perhaps it will knock some sense in the heads of these people who are saying, well, it's all great. I don't believe they're doing it without due process. They're asking people for papers. They're not really beating people up. These people are doing things that are illegal. Nobody is illegal. It is a misdemeanor to cross.
What's good, my people? You're watching the MC Too Tall Show, and I, of course, am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, MC Too Tall. We've got a lot to cover now. We got a lot to cover for this week. For starters, we are all in rock and roll mourning. We are definitely in rock and roll mourning. Legendary guitarist for the band Kiss, Ace Frehley, who on his own had a solo hit, New York Groove, has passed away. Born in 1951, deceased in 2025. He joins another member of the band Kiss, Eric Carr, who was not his replacement. He was Peter Criss's replacement on drums when Gene and Paul thought it was a bright idea to kick Ace and Peter out of the band. And Ace Frehley was a true New Yorker, a nitty-gritty, tough Bronx guy, much like Alan Merrill. Why do I bring up Alan Merrill? Because there's some tie-ins there, besides the both of them being Bronx natives. As you know, Alan Merrill wrote the song I Love Rock and Roll. And by the way, he was a good friend of mine, and he called the Rolling Stone magazine a rag. And I could get into that later on as to why I think that he had valid reason to call it that. But anyway, Alan Merrill wrote the song I Love Rock and Roll, which became a major hit when it was remade by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Now, Joan Jett was a member of the band The Runaways, and her bandmate dated Ace Frehley. See how that all ties in? And that bandmate ended up quitting music altogether and becoming a lawyer. But she would still show up to concerts. She would show up to Blackhearts concerts. She would show up to Kiss concerts. And even some Wendy O. Williams solo concerts. This is from what I was told. But Ace Frehley kept it real. He was a true New Yorker. and a lot of Kiss fans were Ace Frehley fans specifically. They loved the band, but to a lot of Kiss fans, Ace was their favorite member. I mean, well, he had some sick guitar riffs, man. All kept up in his dome up here. And the rock and roll world will miss Ace Frehley. Just to let you know. Now, let's cover what we saw at the beginning of the video, which will tie into the main topic of the story, the main focus of the story. Jimmy Kimmel. There goes Jimmy Kimmel contributing to the language that cost Charlie Kirk his life and nearly cost Donald Trump his life. Shows a picture of people holding up signs at a Trump rally claiming that because Antifa has matching signs that they declared terrorists, that MAGA people should be declared terrorists as well with their matching signs. That's not a joke. That's not meant to be funny. That's meant to be very vicious, malicious, and facetious. And basically, he's trying to say, if you're MAGA, you're a terrorist. MAGA people are terrorists. Shoot the terrorists. Shoot the terrorists. Shoot the terrorists. MAGA people are Hitler. Shoot Hitler. This is what people like Jimmy Kimmel are trying to say. And he's a punk. And every so often, he'll cry in his monologue because he's losing his grift. He gets paid handsomely to be the asshole that he is. And man, oh man, he sure sucks at his craft. He is a loser. He is a nobody. He is an uncouth bum. Speaking of uncouth, bitter, rotten fruits of the tree of knowledge of evil, we have Don Lemon. And Don Lemon is now telling the black people of the world to go get a gun. Not to defend themselves against genuine, realistic tyranny that you would find when the Democrats are in power, but against ICE agents. ICE agents are not after American-born and raised black people. But he's telling the black people, go get a gun. If your name is Cleon Jones and you are born in a Chicago hospital and raised in the inner city of Chicago, Illinois, ICE is after you and you better go get a gun and shoot ICE agents. This is Don Lemon's message. And it's very disingenuous. And of course, he wouldn't have to live with the consequences of what would happen to somebody stupid enough to listen to him. Who the hell is listening to Don Lemon anymore? Very crass, very uncouth, very uncivilized, very animalistic, very separate from human, very other than human. And this is the language that they spew out to the people like vomit. More spewing out to the public like vomit is these No Kings protests. No kings, no kings, no kings. Okay, no kings exist in America. Unless you want to loosely term Elvis Presley rightfully as the king of rock and roll. If you want to say that for many years Babe Ruth was the home run king, although they now asterisks say that it's Barry Bonds, and for a while it was legitimately Hank Aaron, and some would argue that it's still Hank Aaron. I would tend to lean that way. As much as I would want that record to stay with the Yankees, what's fair is fair. I believe Hank Aaron fairly won that record, earned that record as home run king, and because he didn't juice up, should rightfully still be called the home run king. That's just my opinion. But yeah, other than that, there's no kings. You want to call Michael Jackson the king of pop? Fine. But there are no kings. Donald Trump is not a king. He never professed to be a king. He's not a dictator. He's not a big, poopy-panted crybaby that's going to be dragged out come January 20th, 2029, kicking and screaming, saying, "I'm still the president." Rah! That's not going to happen. But many of you on the left believe that's going to happen, and you're shooting at and killing not even hardcore Trump supporters, but right-leaning public figures, or not even widely known public figures. I mean, I know that I'm not world-renowned, other than my music, but even I've gotten my share of death threats. As a matter of fact, this animalistic person, this uncouth, uncivilized bum, very non-human human being, I had to block on Facebook because he is scum of the earth. And you could tell just by reading how he presents himself what scum he is. So these No Kings protests are basically a culmination of losers. It's a gathering of the losers. So many levels of hell, so many levels of Skid Row where these losers belong. And they want to fight for a cause. They're looking for a purpose. And they have no purpose. They're looking for a cause to fight for, and that cause is unimportant. They are doing nothing. They are doing nothing. Now check this clip out.
Everybody, we're here in front of Trump Tower, across the street from Trump Tower. There's Dion setting it all up. Everybody knows who Dion is. Look at our flags. Trump for king. It's early. Guys, get on down here. Getting ready.
Okay. Shout out to Sister Rachel for that clip. And as I said, they are doing nothing but showing the whole world that they are losers. They are creeps. ugly-looking creeps that can't get laid, and since they can't get laid, they need some ploy, they need some kind of purpose in life, they need to seem virtuous, they need to compare themselves to real heroes like Paul Revere. And instead of being revered, they are being reviled by the normal people of America, by the regular people of America, by the general consensus of America. General consensus of America says these No Kings protesters are sorry sacks of shit and losers. And so many levels of hell where belong the left. And of course, these protests lead to crime. Crime runs rampant because of the Democrats. Remember OWS, Occupy Wall Street? It turned out the organizers, from its very foundation, from its inheritance, it was meant to be what it turned into. Just a gathering of rapists in tents. They encouraged these women to set up tents in Zuccotti Park and then unleashed the rapists on them. It became a gathering of rape. And it will only be a matter of time before they do one of these No Kings protests and it turns into a rape fest. Most likely the one in New York will be the first one that happens to. Because you do have your bad apples in New York, and we have some of the worst of the bad apples in the entire country. It's a title I'm not very proud of New York having, but it is what it is. So, No Kings protests eventually will become a rape fest. And who's to blame for it? The Democrats, of course. The Democrats. These people are Democrats that do this. I mean, they call us Nazis, they call us fascists, and yeah, these are bad things. Being the thing responsible for actually and factually killing 6 million Jews is a bad, bad thing. But what's worse is being an American Democrat in this day and age. Yes, being a Democrat is worse than being a Nazi. No one should strive or aspire to be a Nazi. But worse than a Nazi is a Democrat. And you heard that from me. I don't care how mad you get. You're the vile thing that people should take photographs of and turn into dartboards. You're the vile thing that people should take photographs of and blow up into posters just so they have something to spit on. If you are anywhere left of center and still embracing that, do not stupidly think you're still on the same side as John F. Kennedy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or even Hubert Humphrey, Edmund Muskie, or Walter Mondale. Every last one of those people are dead. And that concept of what it is to be a Democrat died with them. Today's Democrat is a radical, blue-haired, non-binary, fat, gross blob of shit with violent tendencies and killer instincts. And yes, their performance gets the gong. Like in the late great Chuck Barris's show, The Gong Show. And many of them are ungodly. Ungodly, I tell you. So, I'll tell you what. You want to say no kings? I dare you. I dare you to try to make me disacknowledge Jesus Christ as King of Kings. I dare you to try to force me to disacknowledge Jesus Christ as King of Kings. And on that note, to my fellow John Krantzians who are fighting the good fight and helping the movement grow, I say this: respect God, watch out for the Illuminati, like, follow, share, comment, subscribe, stay strong, keep kicking that slang. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, underground rock and roll hero, your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host that is never gross, MC Too Tall. Yaha!